guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back, and it is Friday, April 26th, and it is 10:53 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I do apologize profusely because the video that I just uploaded just had the black screen and me in the corner. The problem with this is I have to remember to actually go in and physically change the graphic card because it won't run on one of the graphic cards that is in this computer. So I have to manually switch it over before I start the program, and I forgot to do that. Now, I did explain to you I was having an awful day, absolutely terrible, no good, bad, horrible day. But you know what? These things happen. So again, I just have to go on. I had already recorded another video that was close to an hour, and then I realized my mistake. So I do apologize, and I can only laugh about these things because I don't know. It's just been one of those. I've had 2 days like this, but today was infinitely worse than yesterday. So anyways, I asked at the end of the video that I just did, that now none of you will see because you couldn't see my screen, that those of you that understand spiritual warfare, those of you that are believers and understand spiritual warfare, I would ask you sincerely to please pray for me. And I can't really get into details, but I would ask that you would sincerely pray for me. I would really very much appreciate it, and I need it. All right. Now, I also want to mention that there is a gentleman that has been nice enough to set up a Deception Bytes community Discord channel, and I'm going to put that in the comments below for you. Now, I would like to tell you that I'm just a Discord expert, but I'm not. I've never used Discord and not really sure how it works yet, but I'm going to figure it out, especially now that there's a community channel for us there, so might be kind of fun. So anyway, check it out. Now, let's get on with the Q-related news. I am sorry that the Q posts, you had a black screen there. I don't know if I want to go back and record that as well, but I think hopefully you got the gist of the Q posts anyway. So let's get into this. Now, you will be able to see my screen now, so that's an improvement. Yeah. Okay, let's get into the news, Q-related news. All right. Now, Sean Hannity asked POTUS if he will be declassifying the bucket of 5, and he replied, everything will be declassified and much more than what Sean said. Now, let's listen to this.
You know what we call in this program the bucket of 5?
Yes, everything is going to be declassified and more, much more than what you just mentioned. It'll all be declassified, and I'm glad I waited, because I thought that maybe they would obstruct if I did it early, and I think I was right. So I'm glad I waited, and now the Attorney General can take a very strong look at whatever it is, but it will be declassified and more than what you just mentioned.
Yeah, you gotta love that. It's all going to be declassified. It's all going to come out. Now, I don't know how people are going to react to that, to tell you the truth, because I think that there are a number of people still clinging to the fact or the hope that, that Trump is still guilty. And they're still believing, even though he's not been found guilty of anything and has been exonerated, there are still people clinging to that and insistent that he is guilty. So I'm not sure when all this stuff starts coming out about, about Hillary and Obama and all the other big names, not sure how people are going to react to that, to tell you the truth. And it concerns me a little bit. It really does, because I think that there are some people that are not dealing in reality anymore, and it's very disconcerting, to tell you the truth, because you kind of wonder when these people are confronted with reality, how are they going to respond? Or are they just going to go, I don't hear you, I don't hear you? I mean, really, that's the way they're behaving now. So makes you kind of wonder. Anyway, let's go on here. The night's not getting any younger, especially since I have been recording for the last hour and have nothing to show for it. Anyway, let's take a look at this. If you haven't heard this, I think you'll find it very interesting. Now, Robert De Niro linked to child sex trafficking ring according to court records. Now, why wasn't this all over the news? Well, I think we already know, don't we? According to our court records from 1998, independent journalist John Litchfield discovered that the prostitution agency routinely ensnared girls as young as 15, forcing them to have sex with Hollywood's rich and powerful elite. The French Vice Squad traced 89 young women who said they had been tricked or sometimes physically constrained by the agency into working for them. The girls were sometimes sold on like cattle to other call girl agencies. While it is not clear whether or not De Niro was supplied with underage girls, his involvement in the ring received little to no media coverage. The case uncovers the brutal methods used to snare young women, some as young as 15, into a call girl agency. It also exposes attempts by the French government machine to block an investigation. Seems France did not want to embarrass senior public politicians. I don't know what is wrong with me tonight. First night with the new lips, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, according to the documents, the agency's photographer Jean-Pierre Bourgeois hung around Parisian nightclubs, casting agencies, scouting victims. He picked on young women, often teenagers, and invited them to his apartment to take trial shots. After gaining their confidence, he persuaded them to pose for more revealing pictures. The girls were then convinced, if possible, that prostitution was the best way to get into modeling or movie careers. If they refused, they were blackmailed with the threat that the photographs would be sent to their families. In some cases, they were simply abducted. Several girls cited in the investigating judge's report accused Mr. Bourgeois of rape. 6 people were charged with running the international prostitution ring. Its call girls entertained De Niro and many others. The agency specialized in tricking or trapping starstruck teenage girls into selling their bodies with the promise of careers as models or actresses. The documents are worse than a trashy sex novel. They mention Hollywood stars and high-ranking foreign dignitaries. They speak of arms deals and politicians from our country. The mainstream media has done everything they could to sweep it under the carpet in order to protect celebrities like De Niro. John Litchfield, a journalist that worked for London's Independent, stated that the agency regularly hired young girls, some as young as 15 years old. They forced them to have sex with Hollywood elites. Litchfield discovered the documents and wrote, 6 people are charged with the running of an international prostitution ring whose call girls entertained the actor Robert De Niro, the former tennis player Wojciech Fibak, and 2 senior but unnamed French politicians and several golf princes. The agency specialized in tricking or trapping Starstruck teenage girls, that's hard to say, teenage girls into selling their bodies with the promise of careers as models or actresses. The files of clients' names seized by the police are said to include many well-known members of the sports and show business jet set on both sides of the Atlantic. The only names to emerge so far are De Niro, Fibak, and the French film producer Alain Sardet. De Niro was involved in a much publicized arrest in Paris while filming a movie. He was questioned only as a witness and an occasional client of the network. It has also been reported that a former employee of Robert De Niro's at Tribeca Grill recently came forward. She spoke to the New York Post regarding what it was like working for the Hollywood star. She revealed that De Niro treated his employees like trash. Now, I don't find that hard to believe, especially after hearing the types of things that he said about our president, and on more than one occasion. In fact, I used to enjoy his films, not any longer. I have lost all respect for the man, totally. Now, where does it end? Just last year, De Niro decided to slam President Trump and dub him a sexual predator. He went so far as to call Trump a dog. Now the tables have severely turned around. De Niro should be ashamed of himself for picking on President Trump for making an insignificant comment years ago, especially since he was at the heart of an international prostitution ring. Yeah, right. Well, remember what both Trump and Q have said it. Those who yell the loudest, those who are the loudest. Yep, and it certainly applies in this case. All right, let's go back. Now, here's something you're not going to hear in the mainstream media. I wonder why. You would think that this would be all over the media, everywhere, but it's not. But we're going to hear it. All right, this from International Business Times. Fatima Ibrahim, wife of Sri Lankan suicide bomber, blows herself up with unborn child. The Sri Lankan Defense Ministry has stated that the terror attacks were carried out as a retaliation against the Christchurch massacre in New Zealand. Now, after the gruesome Easter Sunday blast in Sri Lanka, the plot took a major twist after the Islamic State claimed responsibility for the ghastly attack. In another major turn of horrific events, Fatima Ibrahim, the wife of millionaire turned suicide bomber Inshaf Ahmed Ibrahim, blew herself with her unborn baby and 3 kids up after the police raided their residence. 3 policemen were also killed in the incident. Ishaf, 33, along with his brother Ilham Ahmed Ibrahim, 31, were behind the blast at the churches and hotels in the island nation, which killed 359 people and injured many more on April 21st. Fatima, the intelligence sources said, is believed to have been present amid a group of veiled suicide bombers swearing allegiance to the Islamic State, whose images were released by the jihadist organization on Tuesday night. She can be seen, the sources said, on the right-hand side of the frame, standing behind her husband, reports First Post. I do not know which of these, none of them look like women to me, but let's go on. Inshaf and Ilham were the sons of one of the wealthiest men in Sri Lanka, should be men in Sri Lanka, Mohammed Yusuf Ibrahim, who had contested elections on Janatha, I can't pronounce this party name, ticket. He was a close friend of Sri Lankan minister Rishabh Batiuddin and was often seen at the former president Mahinda. These foreign names are extremely hard to pronounce. I do apologize. Mohammed Yusuf Ibrahim and his youngest son, Isjaz Ahmed Ibrahim, 30, are being questioned by the police over the blast. Fatima detonated the bomb, fearing that she might be arrested by the police for her involvement in the terror outfit. She blew herself up in the 3-storied luxury home at Goda, along with her kids. Now, what I don't understand is, okay, she was fearful that she might be arrested, but could she not have left her children in the care of a relative or a friend? Why did she have to blow up her children? And why would she blow herself up while carrying an unborn child? It's horrific. And 3 innocent police officers as well. Anyway, Ishaf owned a manufacturing plant, Colossus Copper, in Colombo, which, according to the investigators, were used for making the suicide bomb vests used in the attack. On Sunday, 9 workers of the factory were arrested, along with the manager. The Sri Lankan Defense Ministry has stated that the terror attacks were carried out as a retaliation against the Christchurch massacre in New Zealand. Now, I do want to, just as a word of caution to you guys, I did, as I was out, looking through the news and sifting through news today, I hit on a video of the aftermath of the bombs in Sri Lanka, and I really, really wish I had not, because once you see something like that, you can't unsee it. So I do caution you that if you're out and about, I would not recommend hitting on it, but if you do, I just want to warn you that it is graphic, very graphic, and anybody that claims that did not actually happen is out of their mind, because you can't make that stuff up. Anyway, I just really wish that I hadn't looked at that. It really disturbed me. So just a caution for those of you that might find it out there. I didn't really expect it to be as gruesome as it was. All right, let's go back. And our hearts and prayers go out to the people that are affected by that, the families. I saw something from a young woman. Well, she seemed quite young anyway, and she had lost her husband and her kids in the blast. She had nobody, and she said, even if I had one child, I could rebuild my life, but I have nothing left to live for. And she was harmed herself, but just to see and to show the funeral, and just it really ripped my heart out. I just can't even imagine losing your entire family just like that, and you're alone. Unbelievable. So continue to pray for those people, because they certainly need our prayers. All right, now let's take a look at this. This should enrage just about everyone. It most certainly enrages me, especially because I am an immigrant, a legal one. So yeah, this upsets me greatly. Thousands of illegal aliens to march nationwide for right to drive without a license. You heard that right. Thousands of illegal immigrants are planning to march in 12 states on May 1st, demanding that they be allowed to get driver's licenses and for people to stop being arrested for driving without them. Well, so really they're asking for rights and privileges that U.S. citizens don't even have. What happens to you or I if we drive without a driver's license and are caught? That's right. Yeah, we get arrested, or we lose our, well, you get arrested. They can impound your car. They can do all sorts of stuff to you. Anyway, while many of the marches are aimed at granting illegal immigrants the ability to obtain driver's license, the campaigns in Georgia and Indiana are focused on demanding the stop of arrests for driving without a license. Yeah, I was hit by an illegal alien once. Yes, I was. And because they didn't have a license, they didn't have insurance. So who had to pay for the damage to my car? That's right, I did. Yeah. Immigrant leaders are calling for the community to stand with them on May 1st to put pressure on their country and state politicians, demanding driver's licenses and dignity for all undocumented immigrants. As massive marches and day-long strikes are expected, the organizers, Movimento I can't pronounce that, said in a press release, the group is also demanding that they be able to leave the country and come back despite the fact that they are not citizens and have no right to be here. Hello. This is what made me absolutely irate, because I lived in the States for a very long time. I was there legally. I immigrated legally. I paid my taxes. I obeyed the laws. But I had to leave to take care of my mother, who was elderly after my only sibling died. And do you think I can get back in the country? No. And my immigration, it's a long story. It's a very long story. Now, granted, what would happen to me is if I tried to cross the border into the United States, they would say that I had abandoned my green card status because I had been living outside of the United States. And they would demand that I hand over my green card. And I would say, no, I refuse. And what happens to me then? Well, then they make an appointment for you to come and see an immigration lawyer, and you have to plead your case. Well, I have no problem doing that, and I am quite convinced I would win. But what would happen then? So I win my case, and the lawyer says, yes, I don't believe that you left the United States with the intention of never returning, and I believe that you've maintained your ties to the United States. That's what I think that they would find. But then I would have to immediately take up residence in the States again, which I can't do because I have an elderly mother who is not covered to be able to come to the States medically. So, yeah. It's more complicated than it seems. Anyway, I know I'm only saying that because so many of you have asked me and offered to help and so forth, and I really, really appreciate it. But it is complex and complicated, and I'm kind of torn because I can't leave my mother, but I don't want to leave my country either. It's a very difficult situation. So, anyway, let's go on here. The group is also demanding, that they be able to leave the country and come back whenever they want. Right. Oh, and you know what? I want to tell you something else. When I was going through my immigration, there's a period of time where you really can't leave the country or you won't be able to get back in, like when they're working on your status. Well, during that time, my grandmother died, and I applied for a very special, it's like a permit that allows you to leave and get back in. They wouldn't grant it to me, and that's their prerogative. So had I left to go to my grandmother's funeral, I would not have been able to get back into the United States. So it enrages me that these people who are not documented, who are not legally there, who have come in illegally, are wanting to be able to come and go at will. I don't think so. No. Doesn't work that way. Come in the right way. You know, if somebody comes to visit me, you know, they come and they knock on my front door. They don't crawl in my windows. I'm just saying. You know, you want to come in, you want to be received properly and have all the rights and privileges of a citizen, well then come in legally. It's very simple. All right. We are demanding permanent protection from deportation for the 11 million undocumented immigrants. And if you believe that there are only 1 million or 11 million undocumented immigrants, then I've got, you know, some swampland to sell you. It happens to be in DC. Anyway, the right to travel freely to visit our loved ones abroad and the right to be treated with dignity and respect. After years of broken promises from the you tell that the next time the police, you know, you're speeding or something, and they arrest you and you say, no, I demand to be treated with respect and dignity. You're a criminal. You know, I mean, yeah, technically, if you're speeding or you're breaking the law in any way, you are a criminal. Anyway, so they think that they're being, after years of broken promises from the Democrats, dehumanization from Republicans, raids, driving in fear of being pulled over. Yeah, if I didn't have a driver's license, I would drive in fear of being pulled over as well. Not being able to bury our loved ones, immigrants are taking matters into their own hands. Well, you know, I have no sympathy for these people. I'm sorry. You know, just like you want to come visit me, come to my front door, don't climb in my windows. You're not going to get any respect from me. You're not going to get a very good welcome from me either. You crawl into my windows. If you were in the, if I was in the States and was able to have a gun and you tried to crawl in my windows, well, it wouldn't end well for you. I'm just saying. But yeah, so there you go. All right. I know I get all heated about immigration issues. I really do, because it's very personal to me. Okay, now let's look at this, shall we? I think you'll enjoy this. Oh, this isn't what I thought it was at all. You won't enjoy this. Breaking exclusive campus tipster catches the University of North Texas hosting a lesson called Sexual Pleasure and Response in Infants. We have the lesson plan from the instructor, Terry E. Davis. Well, how do you like that? The other thing I saw today, and I should have, could have, would have, clipped it out for you all, because it was a lesson from, it was some university or college in the States, and I can't remember where, but they were drawing comparisons between cancer and pregnancy. That's right. Cancer and pregnancy. Yeah. So there you go. That's where we're headed as a society, I guess, and it's not real good. All right. And this, President Trump, gotta love him. President Trump, let the Boston bomber vote? He should be voting? I don't think so. Let terrorists that are in prison vote? I don't think so. Well, I agree with President Trump, and apparently so does the Speaker, 2018, because he said, damn right. Yeah, no. If you're a criminal, if you're in prison, especially if you're a terrorist, no, you don't deserve to vote. How can you make good decisions for our country when you can't even make good decisions for yourself? You know, I'm just saying. All right, and this from President Trump. President Donald J. Trump is the greatest hostage negotiator that I know of in the history of the United States. 20 hostages, many in impossible circumstances, have been released in the last 2 years. No money was paid, and that by the chief hostage negotiator, USA. Alrighty, well, I happen to agree. He's pretty spectacular at all sorts of things, and I don't understand the people that are constantly haranguing him, because the country is doing well. What more do people want? They just don't like the man. And I can't for the life of me figure out why. All right, and this from Charlie Kirk. My glasses are dirty. I feel like I'm like looking through fingerprints and everything. All right, Charlie Kirk. Imagine a Republican's VP's son was named to a lucrative post at a Ukrainian oil company following the VP's visit. Then that VP threatened to cut off $1 billion in U.S. aid if the prosecutor investigating his son wasn't fired. Except it wasn't a Republican. It was Joe Biden and his son. Yes, and that's exactly what happened. But there's Joe Biden saying, there wasn't a hint of any scandal in the Obama, administration. Not a hint of scandal. No, not even a hint. All right, and this made me a little angry. Okay, well, that's an understatement. It enraged me. It made me wanted to rip their lips off. In Christian love. Okay, keynote speaker at Harvard Diversity Conference says Christians should be locked up. Well, I guess if I go around ripping people's lips off, I probably will be locked up. Christians deserve to be mocked viciously and run out of public square. To celebrate a decade of dialogue in its annual diversity conference, Harvard University's Faculty of Arts and Sciences invited a straight white man to give the keynote lecture, but not just any straight white man. Tim Wise, an anti-racism writer, educator, and activist, has denigrated Christians as Jesuits and fascists and called Pope Francis evil. Well, 1 out of 3. He has tweeted that people who believe in God, of hell and damnation, deserve to be mocked viciously and run out of public square. But I guess chopping people's heads off is okay. I don't know. Those who base their morality on the Hebrew scriptures deserve to be locked up, he said in 2015, claiming to be sort of kidding, but not by much. The Diversity Dialogue series provides a retrospective look at diversity and inclusion, a discussion of current issues, and practical guidance on how we can move towards greater inclusion and belonging at Harvard, according to the event description. Well, here's something. Mr. Tim Wise, if you want to have a discussion on how we can move towards greater inclusion and belonging at Harvard, perhaps you shouldn't claim that part of your student body, which is no doubt Christian, are Jesuits and fascists and deserve to be locked up, because that shuts down dialogue really, really quickly. Just saying. All right then. Tim Wise, Harvard. Okay. Let's go on. Okay, The Spy. The Hill. President Trump, you've been looking at things that you wouldn't have believed possible in our country. Oh, you can say that again. Corruption at the highest level, a disgrace, spying, surveillance, trying for an overthrow, and we caught them. We caught them. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And thank you, Lord, that they have been caught. Now, we want to see justice. They've been caught. They've been found out. You have it all. Q says over and over and over again, we have it all. All. So let's see justice. And this from Mr. Everyman, who is actually a listener. Can anybody tell me why the French Heritage has a GoFundMe account for fire repair to Notre Dame that has a 501c3 that was set up before the fire? That's a good question, isn't it? there's only one possible outcome to this question. They knew it would be burnt before it was arson. And yes, actually, Mr. Everyman, that is not the only GoFundMe account that was set up prior to the fire as a 501c3, which means that you can donate to it and receive a tax, like it's a tax, you can write it off in your taxes and so forth. I know I'm not saying that right. But anyway, that's not the only one that was set up. There were plenty of them set up before the fire as 501c3s. Yeah. You can make a tax deductible donation too. So could someone explain that to me? Are these people psychic? Do they have a crystal ball or a crystal coconut or something? Are they empaths? Are they, I don't know. How do they know? Oh, we know how they knew. Because this was planned. It was planned. And it was evidently planned. It was so obviously planned. As soon as I saw that spire fall, I went, that's planned. That's planned. These people are so transparent. And this from Viking Scott, who also is a listener. Dems and the media have lied to us about Russian collusion for over 2 years, and now they want us to believe them while investigating obstruction and taxes another 2 years? Are any of you tired of their lies and hoaxes? Oh, we're more than tired. We're sick to death of their lies and their hoaxes and their, setting people, innocent people up. Yeah, we're more than tired of it. Not only do we want it to stop, we want them to pay the consequences of what they've done. Because I don't think we can get on track as a nation until we see that. Until we see that those who have done the crime do the time. Really. Because how can you ever trust the justice system again? Until you see that it's working properly again. We can't. So it's necessary. Very, very necessary. Okay, let's look at this. Yes, you're going to like this. Yes, you are. Democrats are obsessed with Donald Trump. It's time to move on and solve problems for the American people. How many people agree? All of you. I thought so. Let me just go over here and check to make sure everything is recording properly because, my gosh, I don't want to have an empty screen again because that sucks. All right, everything looks to be fine. Now, let's go back to where I was here and show you this because I think you'll like it.
The president.
The president.
The president.
President Trump.
President Trump. President Donald J. Trump. President Trump.
President Trump.
President Trump.
President Trump.
Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trump.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Trump.
President Donald Trump.
Oh, that music reminds me of being in the mountains of North Carolina. I never liked music like that until I lived in the mountains in North Carolina, and I don't know, it grows on you. Okay, well, I thought you would enjoy that. I certainly did. And let's go back, see what else we can get into. There's plenty. There is plenty. Well, I guess this isn't going to be a 3-video night. This is only going to be a 2-video night. It would have been a 3-video night had the video that I recorded second, the first one, of course, no screen. The second one I recorded, no screen. It wasn't recording my screen. So this is the third, and I'm hoping that the third one. So anyway, this from President Trump. Welcome to the race, Sleepy Joe. I think it should have been Creepy Joe, but Sleepy Joe works for me. I only hope you have the intelligence, long in doubt, to wage a successful primary campaign. It will be nasty. You will be dealing with people who truly have some sick and demented ideas. But if you make it, I will see you at the starting gate. Yeah. If you make it. I don't think he'll make it. Now, of course, they were reporting that Biden was 8 points ahead in the polls, and I'm like, yeah, right, right, yeah, I believe that. No, I don't. All right. Oh, and this. Now, I'm not going to read this. I'm not going to get in there and read that because you know what? But because really, I don't care. The only part I care about is Russia taped Bill Clinton having phone sex with Monica Lewinsky. Yes, they've got it on tape. Yes, they do. So I thought that was interesting, but do I want to read about it? No. Ew. So yeah, they have them. They got them on tape. Yep. And actually, don't you think the fact that the Russians have Bill Clinton on tape having phone sex with Monica Lewinsky, don't you think that could have possibly put the country in jeopardy because they could have used that as leverage? Well, I think it could. All right, let's take a look at this, and I'm going to resist the urge to say, I told you so. No, I'm not. I told you so. Now, I'll tell you something. I've been studying this stuff for a long time, way before I started making YouTube videos. And I said right away that the church that replaced Notre Dame would not be a Catholic church. And I know several people challenged me on that, and not rudely at all, but and other people that I've talked to, in real life, have definitely challenged me on that and said, "Oh, that's nuts, that's crazy." But I knew because I have been studying this stuff a long time, and this article explains to you what is happening and what is being done and why. So let's take a look at it. Rockefeller backed Federal Council of Churches pushed world government, universal system of money, and worldwide freedom of immigration in 1942. The council was told by Dr. William Patton, co-secretary of the World Council of Churches, that collectivism is coming whether we like it or not. For those paying attention, there is a discernible pattern of social engineering that is directed at the major world religions, particularly Christianity. This is undoubtedly a very complex issue as there are numerous belief systems and nuanced views of millions of people. What we know is that globalist financed wars and revolutions have fueled illegal immigration and stoked flames of conflict all over the world. It can be reasonably demonstrated that key globalist organizations are following a program for reshaping the world's religions utilizing a tried and true technique. It is a process called the Hegelian dialect. Now, I know probably all of you have heard of the Hegelian dialect, but maybe not all of you understand what it is. Now, this is a very simplified explanation, very simplified, but it's a proper explanation. Here is a simplified outline of the dialect as applied by globalist forces, and this is what they're trying to do. Okay, they present the thesis, and the thesis is the problem, and the problem is, or the problem as they present it, religions are bigoted. They feed intolerance and fuel violence. And then what they do is they hold up via the media and, so forth, extreme examples from each group, like the extreme of Islam, the extreme of Christianity. They hold up those extremes for the world to see. Then there is an antithesis, a reaction. The people see the problem, they react to the problem. How do they react to the problem? They say, I don't want to be politically incorrect, and they disassociate with the demonized groups. So you'll have Muslims backing away from extreme examples and not wanting to associate because they don't want to be associated with that extremism. And the same thing with Christians. You've got what is that church that used to go and they would they would like picket at soldiers' funerals and stuff, and just, horrendous. I can't remember what that church was, but everybody knew about it. That is an extreme form of Christianity that's held up to the media. And then you've got people backing away from that. And then there's the thesis, antithesis or antithesis, and then there's the synthesis. And what happens is a middle ground is found and a politically correct faith is formed under the banner of global government. And that is exactly what's happening and what has been planned for a very long time and has been implemented and is being implemented with military precision. Now, this is something that I am particularly well versed in because I've been studying it a long time. And that is why I said, as soon as I saw that spire fall, I knew that this was symbolic and meant to be a symbol to the world, that this is a falling and what will replace it will be the new globalist religion, the acceptable religion that encompasses and everyone. And that is exactly what they're planning to do with Notre Dame. It is not going to be rebuilt as a Catholic church. It will not be. And I knew that from the start. And what will take its place, what will rise from the ashes, like the phoenix symbol of rising from the ashes, what will rise from the ashes will be the new Luciferian religion, which is very much alive today. And, I know that, and let me say this to those of you who are believers, it says in Scripture, be careful that the light you have isn't darkness. Now, think about that. Why would Jesus have spoken that? Why would he say, be careful that the light that you have isn't darkness? Can light be dark? Yes, it can. Absolutely it can. Because Lucifer is the father of lies. He is a false light. He presents himself as an angel of light. And that's why Scripture says, is it no wonder that his agents or his present themselves as ministers of righteousness? So those that worship Lucifer will present themselves as angels of light, as ministers of righteousness. That is a false light. Be careful that the light you have isn't darkness. And this new false light will be the Luciferian religion, and that is the religion that's going to rise. And it was a symbol. That church, that spire falling was a symbol, and it was meant to send a very clear message, and I got it. I got the message just because I understand. I've been searching this out and studying this a very long time because I was involved in, I would say it was a cult, some call it a church, but they were actually Luciferian in origin and fooled almost all of us for a very long time. And I think most people had a very hard time getting out of it once they were in. I only know of a couple people actually that made it out with their faith still intact, because you had to come to the realization that, my gosh, I'm on the wrong side. I'm worshiping something that looks good, but it's a beautiful lie. That's all it is, a beautiful lie. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I knew that this fire was very planned. Anyway, the establishment has encouraged and planted the seeds of extremism where it suits geopolitical agendas, and that's exactly true. The consequences of this manipulation are then pointed at in the ensuing dialectical battle as evidence of a just cause against these ideas. Before we go into it, before we go further, it is important to point out that the establishment has a vested interest in shaping religion. This has been true for ages. Noted historian Alex D., whoever this is, I'm not sure. He's a noted historian, but I've never heard of him, warned us in 1835 when he wrote Democracy in America that the churches were already being usurped by power elites for their own agenda. He wrote, sovereigns are using the priest's influence and turning it to their own exclusive profit. They are turning clergymen into functionaries and often servants, and they are using the clergy to reach the deepest recesses of the individual soul. The influence has continued to our modern times, but with what is perhaps a more sophisticated flair. The Rockefeller family, with their vast fortune garnered from the oil baron John D. Rockefeller Sr., played a major role in reshaping the churches in modern America. It comes as little surprise, given their long-term goal of world government, that the Rockefeller family family would approve and support a societal outlook favorable to globalism. The use of religion is one method that, in Rockefeller's eyes, looked to be promising means of accomplishing this goal. Early programs, such as the Interchurch World Movement, focused on the maintenance of harmonious relations between people in America's growing industrial society. Later endeavors, such as World Council of Churches, would trend towards being global in nature, with goals moving beyond that of simply maintaining class stability in America to elimination of national sovereignty and world governance. As documents show, several attempts have been made to argue the Christian churches to get behind programs for world governance. If the attempts were not initiated by the Rockefellers, significant financial support was provided to organizations sharing their vision for the world. Now, this is getting into territory that I know a lot about, but I'm not going to belabor this because that's not the purpose here. But in the aftermath of the bloody conflict of World War I, the League of Nations was presented as a solution to the horrendous problems that the world had witnessed. During the same period, the League of Nations was formed. John D. Rockefeller Jr. launched the Interchurch World Movement in 1919. Now, they've always gone hand in hand. World governance, world religion, always hand in hand, and they always will be hand in hand. And you know something? This was prophesied 2,000 years ago in the Bible. This exact thing, that there would be a global governance and global religion. So, yeah, this is not anything surprising to those who know Scripture, but I think a lot of people do not understand. They understand the whole part about globalism, but they don't understand the part that religion plays in this. So, and this from Rockefeller, he said, "I know of no better insurance for a businessman than this for the safety of his investments, the prosperity of the country, and the future stability of our government than this movement affords." So this is a long article. I don't want to read all of it, but I did want to give you a taste of that and say that that is why it was so obvious to me that when that spire fell, it was a signal sent around the world, and those in the know got and understood the message. And from that demise, from that, the phoenix is going to rise, but it's not going to be a good thing, and it's going to be the Luciferian New World religion. You mark my words, they're already talking about how to incorporate Muslim features into Notre Dame. Yes, they are. So, all right, now let's go back, now that I've talked your hind leg off. And I'm going to skip this because there's not really anything new in there, to tell you the truth. And let's come down to this. I think you'll find this very interesting and enraging at the same time. This by Secret Stranger. This is racist discrimination. It is our fault what or what not their religion allows. I find this totally wrong. And he is making reference to this. Lloyd's Bank scraps overdraft fees on Islamic accounts. Now, if you're a Christian, you're going to have to pay the overdraft fees. I'm sorry. If you're any other religion, you're going to have to, if you're Hindu or whatever, you're going to have to pay the overdraft fees. But if you're Muslim, no overdraft fees for you. That, according to Lloyd's Bank. So, how do you like that? I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Now, I have to include this meme. I did tweet this out to my Twitter followers, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can find my Twitter in my Twitter link in the description below. And if you let me know that you want me to follow you back, I will. And also, there are several people that have said, "I've asked you 3 times and you haven't," and I'm sorry. Sometimes my notifications get so long that I don't see every request. So if you have requested and I haven't responded yet, please ask again, because it's nothing personal, I promise. But I did want to show you this meme. Here is Joe Biden 2020. Yeah, got the little cone around his head, I guess, so he can't sniff people. Yeah, smell their hair. You smell wonderful. But as somebody pointed out, he needed something on his hands as well, right? Because, he's got a little groping problem. He does. Okay, and let's look at this. Look at this from Red Nation Rising. Trump married 2 immigrants, dated a black woman for 2 years, had Jewish grandchildren. He employs thousands of minorities. If he's a racist, I'm a unicorn. Yeah, that's about right. I don't believe for 1 minute that Trump is racist. Not even for 1 minute. Not even half a minute. Not even 10 seconds. Not even 5. Not even a nanosecond. All right, I can't remember what this is, but now I'm curious. Just because I'm like that. Oh yes, this is Rockefeller's leaked 1991 speech. The former second most powerful man on earth explains the deep state. Now, the sound on this is really bad, so I hope you can hear it.
Discretion for almost 40
his media allies, but his confidence that his words would not leave the room was later broken.
We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the bright lights of publicity. But the world is now more sophisticated and prepared to march toward a world government.
That these men aim to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole. In short, they seek total and quiet control of the entire world.
Yes, they do. No doubt about that. All right, now let's go back. I'm just about done here. Let's look at this. Brent Bozell said, want collusion? Here's collusion. The very first fundraiser for Biden is being hosted by David Cohen, chief lobbyist and VP of Comcast, which owns NBC News and MSNBC. Lisa Crowley responds and says, imagine that. Yeah, imagine that. So, yeah, it starts again. I just pray that they fix this whole thing about, I look at the fact that there are Democrats in positions right now that really didn't win those positions legally. And you know what I mean. There was a lot of shenanigans in the midterm elections. So I'm hoping that that is fixed going into the 2020 election. I really do, because the Democrats have made it very clear that they want to win by any means necessary, legal or otherwise. So, and there is one more thing here I want to mention before I go, because it's pretty important. Well, maybe not so important for you guys in the States, but in Canada, yeah, the new $1 Canadian coin, which we've always referred to as a loonie, which is really ridiculous. People used to think I was lying when I lived in the States, and I'd say, yeah, our $1 coin is called a loonie. We have a $2 coin too, and what's that called? It's called a toonie. And they'd go, okay, now I know you're making that up. But it's true. Can't make stuff like that up. Anyway, the new $1 Canadian coin features 2 men kissing, a key milestone for lesbian, gay, transgender, queer, and two-spirited people. This by Paul Joseph Watson, but it is true. It is true. Canada has unveiled a new $1 commemorative coin that features 2 men kissing. The Royal Canadian Mint said the new coin represents a key milestone for lesbian, gay, transgender, queer, and two-spirited people. What is that supposed to mean, two-spirited people? Federal Finance Minister Bill Morneau, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, insisted that progress in terms of LGBTQ2 rights was not complete. They recognize, as we should all recognize, that we are not at the end of this path, he said. We have much more to do. Oh, dear Lord, tell me that we're not at the end of the path. I mean, tell me that there's more, that we've got, that we're going to go further into this weirdness. So, yeah, there you go. But, that's Canada. I mean, Canada's right in your face with it. Right in your face with it. All right. I think I'm going to stop there. And reason being is it's getting late and I want to get this uploaded. And two, I've been recording far longer than you've been listening because I did a whole video that was not usable. Like I told you, this has been one terrible, awful, no good, sucky day. But you got to pick yourself up and you got to go on, right? So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your prayers. I appreciate your comments. And I just appreciate you all. You are great people. And I prove it all the time by showing people your comments. And they say, wow, that is a very polite group of people. Top shelf people. Top shelf people. All right. So thank you so much. I'm going to close there. I hope you have a great night's sleep, that you awake, rested, and ready to go. And also stay safe, stay well, and stay seeking the truth because deception bites. And it does.